So, very, very strange post made by Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, Democrat, who, again, during the Palisades fires was in Ghana on a little fun hootenanny kind of a trip, and since then has said time and time again, there's no money in Los Angeles. There's no money to pave the roads and fix the potholes. There's no money to actually move through some of the permitting processes so people can rebuild their homes. There's just no money. The city doesn't have any money. In fact, we need to raise taxes. We need to raise taxes on the millionaires and the billionaires, to quote Bernie Sanders. So says Los Angeles Mayor, who's running for re-election, Karen Bass. And she announced today, or well, not today, I should say, at the end of not yesterday, but the day before, August 17th, today is August 19th, that she was going to do a little fundraising hullabaloo. But what she says in the video may be, well, see for yourself.
Your donation to our campaign is more critical right now than ever before. Let me explain. Thanks to LA's Supermatch program,
LA's Supermatch program.
Every qualified donation from Los Angeles residents is matched 6-1 by the city.
Hang on. Due to a program enacted by the Los Angeles City Council, staffed exclusively by Democrats, the Democrat mayor, current incumbent, who is running for re-election, is saying, if you donate to my campaign, you donate right now, then the city of Los Angeles, meaning taxpayer money, will then multiply your donation by 6? What?
But after the primary, we had to start over from scratch. So we need you to rush your matching donation right now to help fuel this campaign.
Hold on. Now in the general, you taxpayer funded, I mean, seriously, I'm not joking, not trying to pull the wool over your guys' eyes, not trying to clickbait you into oblivion here. The city of Los Angeles, like a government, can match political campaign donations?
Chip in $5 right now, and the city turns it into $35. Chip in $25 right now, and the city turns it into $175. Make your matching donation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you to who? To the person doing the actual donations, or to the city of Los Angeles? Again, I just told you, the city that's not paving any roads, the Los Angeles police and fire departments, they say, are woefully underfunded. They can't do basic infrastructure repair. They can't do anything about the actual staffing shortages in certain parts of the Los Angeles city infrastructure. But boy, they have money to spare to increase campaign donations to the incumbent mayor, Karen Bass. Now, to be clear on this program, it was voted for to be increased to a 6-1 margin back in 2019 by the Los Angeles City Council. You're going to remember that here in a second. This first became a thing in 1990. Again, according to the records on this, I'm sure like many of you, this is the very first I heard about this today. The very first I have ever heard about this today. Senator Mike Lee is understandably, he's pretty outraged by this. The idea from a lot of senators that are expressing, a good amount of frustration, like, how can this be real? I thought that in the United States, that yes, I know that states and localities have authority over their elections, but if you'll forgive a little bit of my naivety here, I believed that there were some things that no matter what were subject to state and federal laws, like, for example, election finances. For example, if I'm running for a statewide election in Indiana and I take a bunch of out-of-state election money violating Indiana election law, that I'm also running the risk of violating a federal law. That was my perception. But apparently, because in 1990, the Los Angeles City Council said it's okay to use taxpayer dollars as campaign donations. I guess that's fine. Now let's get into the meat here. So on the actual tweet that she posted this little video out with, it takes you to, of all places, ActBlue. And, again, of course it does. Of course it takes you to ActBlue. ActBlue, again, is the grassroots funding platform for the Democrat Party. And the ActBlue platform allows individuals to go online enter in an amount, whether they want to make it recurring or not, and then ActBlue takes that money and then delivers that money to the campaign, by which I mean this. So online platforms like this do not just individually hook people directly up peer-to-peer, meaning like a peer-to-peer download service would mean that you have a certain file and then you send me that file. ActBlue doesn't work like that. ActBlue, you give the money to ActBlue. ActBlue then gives the money to the campaign. And when you actually start looking through this, you actually start digging into the details here, she makes it very clear that up to $257 per person can be multiplied by 6 under the LA City Matching Funds program. And then also asks that you make it, monthly, that you really get in there. There are some rules beneath this. That you're at least 18 years old, that it doesn't cause you to exceed your contribution limit of $1,800. You understand all contributions that you make to this candidate or committee must be accumulated. I understand that a contribution from another individual entity whose contribution activity I control, such as a business that I own, must be aggregated with this contribution. So what ActBlue does here is says, I promise that I'm following the rules. You say, well, this is, ActBlue's doing their due diligence here. Here's the problem, boys and girls. Earlier on in the year, you may remember around April that ActBlue and all of its leadership that went to testify before House committees were brought before House committees because ActBlue had allegedly taken a bunch of foreign money. So someone from another part of the world said, oh, yes, I'm from the United States. I'm right here in New Delhi, Nebraska. And then they entered the donation. And then ActBlue, allegedly, according to the documents, again, not yet proven in a court of law, but according to the documents that have been released, and then again, all of the individuals from ActBlue who, instead of saying, no, this didn't happen, pled the Fifth Amendment, all of them before Congress, which is so in style right now. Well, Congress and the Department of Justice have still been digging into the ActBlue, and I've talked about this earlier on the show this week, that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders and Abdul El-Sayed and other members of the Democrat Party who are still leaning all into ActBlue, several other insiders in the Democrat Party, and oh, how interesting that this just so happens to work out. It's well, actually, wait a minute, it's right here. Notice down here at the bottom, even CNN is now reporting that some Democrats are quietly afraid it could cost Democrats the midterms. Why? Because if Congress and the Department of Justice get some kind of an injunction because they are concerned that ActBlue isn't actually doing any due diligence and checking where someone's location is from, let's say before the city of Los Angeles matched a donation and multiplied it by 6 or something like that. Again, hypotheticals only here. Well, then they could shut down the campaign and all that money could be locked up. And then that money could not be going to James Tallarico and Abdul El-Sayed and Angie Nixon and on and so forth. So it is a serious problem. Now, if you scroll your eyes, if you're on the live stream, if you're on the radio and you're driving, please don't scroll your eyes. Please watch the road. But notice that the rest of these news stories here, questions we've talked about over the last month, like an elderly donor in Michigan who apparently made $150,000 in donations to Abdul El-Sayed, is wondering why on earth ActBlue is showing that she donated. She says she didn't give any money over to him. Says it's not possible. She's living in a trailer. Investigators found that ActBlue donations inflated for many Wisconsin seniors. That's Wisconsin. That's not Michigan. That's according to reporting over at the Center Square. And this last little bit from Legis One, House committees will depose ActBlue's chief over donation fraud again tomorrow, August 20th. So it's a very interesting time for ActBlue. Now, the reason I've tied this all the way so quickly from Karen Bass on the Los Angeles side to ActBlue is that not only does it have to do with the Los Angeles candidates, because, oh, yes, they are. I'm getting texts right now from people who are listening to this who are informing me that there are, in fact, other places around the country where this is happening. Don't get ahead of me. Now, again, you have Nitya Raman, who is also trying to do the same thing. Hey, 6-1. You'll note the link is also to ActBlue. This is going to become a bit of a trend in case you can't exactly tell where it is that I'm going. In San Francisco, the same thing. Oh, hey, if you join this program, then you can be a part of this amazing matching funds program. And they say this is to amplify the little people. But it's not amplifying the little people. It's taking money from people who have chosen not to be a part of that campaign. It is taxpayer-generated revenue for the city or the local polity, not just in San Francisco, but in Berkeley for city council races. Matched 6-1 in Berkeley. Also on the other side of the coast in Washington, D.C., Janice Lewis George, Washington, D.C., will turn your gift of $5 into $30. Wow, amazing. By the way, if you're wondering how many of these candidates we've done the research for this evening, how many of these individuals with these big ads are Republicans? None. Now, I know you're not actually surprised by that. And also, all of these are on ActBlue, all of them, every single one of them. Again, who is just currently under federal investigation, which is currently under congressional investigation, because they don't allegedly check where the money's coming from. Insane. Apparently, if your city council just votes randomly on a Tuesday that you can totally use taxpayer funding for incumbent campaign momentum, oh, that's totally fine. It's insane. Of course, the Democratic Socialists of America, they're all in on this. Same thing. You know, you have to qualify for the Portland Small Donor Elections Matching Federal Funds Program of Mystery. You know, It's wonderful. Very, very wonderful. Same thing in Seattle as well. Also in the Denver City Council races, the same matching fund program thing. I'm sorry. You can't complain about money in elections. You cannot complain about the worries and the concerns and the big issues in money swaying elections, and then watching people against their will have money taken from, again, if I spend money, or well, it's taxed from me specifically here in Indiana where I am, and my city takes that money and then donates it to just campaigns, I've been ripped off. As I have made clear before on the show, if we're going to be spending taxes, then at least they should be going to Americans, not the ones running for office, but they should be actually going to the programs I'm supposedly paying for, like Medicaid and Medicare and the other various programs that I'm forced to pay for, as are you. In Denver, no, that's going to candidates running for office. It's bonkers. And again, not just in this case, also in New York City, of course, Zoran Mamdani, speaking of the socialists, is all for it. Adrian, for the people. He says, remember, donations from New York City residents can get up for up to $250 can get matched 8-1. So no one in New York City has any money for rent. New York City doesn't even have the money for, Zoran wants more and more and more and more to pay for these big, huge education programs. And to, for universal pre-K and all of these other, free buses. But New York City taxpayer money is not going to that. No. It's going to getting his picks in office. Now, these do come with some limits, and it is why that Zoran himself, I suppose for 2029, because he's already decided he's going to, run again. He's opting out of this, at least planning to, because there's only a certain cap, and he wants as much money as possible. This is insane. Now, our producer Lou reached out to ActBlue and asked for any kind of a comment on this. And I know, breaking huge shocker news, they didn't give us any kind of a comment. I know, I too am very, very surprised. So to be clear, even though this is technically by city council rules legal, this is in fact the very kind of fraudulent spending of taxpayer dollars in order to sway elections. That would be the definition. And also wildly hypocritical as well.